Hi knitters, welcome to PJ Knits. My name is Penny and I live in Central Illinois, and you are part of PJ Knits YouTube video. I am PJ Knits on Instagram. I am Penny J on Ravelry, and we have in Ravelry a PJ Knits group. I am PJ Knits on Instagram. I said that, didn't I? And I have a blog, www.pjknits.blogspot.com. So, again, this is Penny. I am a knitter, a blogger, and a YouTube podcaster. Thanks for stopping by. I want to first of all do a big thank you and a shout out to Corey of I Rock Knits for mentioning me on her podcast a few weeks back, sorry. It seems like a few months. And then I went kind of sort of quiet because, well, it's been a little interesting these days around Shape PJ Knits, as it is everywhere. Also, and I believe as part of my podcast that we should at least, I should have something to show you, some tangible thing, not just get up here and tell you all about my stuff, but I'm afraid that's what it's going to be like today. But anyway, thank you so much to Corey for turning new viewers onto me. And we're working slowly our way to 100 viewers. And so if you are a new viewer, thanks for coming, and I hope you will come back, and I hope you will subscribe and like this video as well. And I hope that there are some things that, that you are interested in. So, first of all, let's just get started. On my blog, I try and do most of it with knitting related stuff. There is some things that, you know, are sometimes personal and grandkiddy things just because, but I try to do some new things, maybe Tuesday tips, and on Wednesdays, I try to do either Wednesday whips or Wednesday website. And so for the next few weeks, what I'm going to do on Wednesdays on the blog is do some indie dyers or some small businesses that are out there that that I like, that during this time of what's going on in the world, that you are able to buy from them still on the internet and have them delivered. So I'm going to just share some of my favorites with you, and so I'm going to put that out on there. One of the things that I would encourage you to do, we just got an email that our local yarn shop is now closed and will not be doing any curbside shopping, because in the state of Illinois we've pretty much been told to shelter in place through April 8th. And so she will not be doing that. But I still think that it's a great idea to go out and buy online gift certificates, which I did at our local yarn shop earlier this week, so that when we're back to business as normal, I'll have a gift certificate to spend at my local yarn shop. So I would encourage others to do that as well. Today I am going to just give you a few things, and then we'll head out. One of our regular segments is called Books and Bags, and so I've got a couple of books. I've got a book this time, and then a couple of bags that I want to show and share with you. And one of the latest, a few weeks back when we were still able to get into the yarn shop, I picked up the latest Pom Pom Quarterly, and I am loving this sweater on the cover. And I went looking for the yarn on it, and because I had this thought that I wanted to do it just like was in the photo, and it's hard to come by. Of course it would be, because everybody wants it, but I'm thinking about doing this for later in the summertime towards fall, out of maybe not necessarily a mohair and lace, but one of my laces and some fingering weight that I have. So I'm in love with this sweater, as I was on a lot of the garments that were in here. But unfortunately, I think by the time I get them all done, at least I'm hopeful that we'll be right into late spring and summer. And so I had a feeling that I would not get anything done and still be able to wear it this season. So I am really kind of saving these ideas for later in the summer to work towards fall and winter, so I'll have something new. But I really love this issue. There was a lot of neat sweaters in it, neat yarns, and as is seems to be the trend right now, a lot of those are crop or shorter, and I have no problem adapting those, and I will do that in the future. But I really am loving this, and so I'm thinking while I'm at home, I might see what my stash holds. So this was a book I wanted to share with you. This is Pom Pom Spring 2020. I don't always buy every pom pom because there's not always things that I want to knit out of that, but this one was chock full, I thought, from the get-go. The other thing, I have a couple of bags, and I think I showed this last time, but I'm going to show it again. This is the bigger version. I have bought a smaller version of By the Bay Yarn Company, and I'm really loving this bag for my spring projects and summer projects, toting it around when I get when spring actually comes to Central Illinois. So I love this. Has a drawstring and pockets on the outside and pocket on the inside. So I'm really liking, and nice color of canvas as well. So I am totally liking that. And one of my things I got on an update that I'm so thrilled with is I got one of the Ho-He bags, and this one is in red, and since then I've seen some more colors, yellows and blues, that you can get from other places, but this one for me is going to be a bag for the summer as well, but I think it's going to double as my purse because I'm really super excited about it, with the long handles and a pocket on the outside big enough for phone and keys and that. So I think this is going to be like my purse, travel bag, knitting bag. So super excited about those. Those are a couple of things that a couple of bags that I wanted to share with you. Finished objects. Well, I only have one, and that's why I wasn't going to do a podcast until I had fully finished this. This is called the Beach Pebbles Dotted Swiss Cowl. I bought this yarn a couple of months ago from my local yarn shop, again, Fiber Universe in Peoria. And I just loved the thought of this was a nice, easy little cowl of the yarn. It's a free pattern on Plymouth Yarn's website. And it just takes, this one just takes 2 skeins of the Beach Pebbles yarn and on a size 8 needle. And it was good knitting for during phone calls or during some virtual knit nights that we've done the last week. And so I got it done. And I haven't blocked it or anything. But I think this will be cool. Just for hanging around and for heading out a little bit when it's cooler, like today, if I want to take a walk in a little bit and just kind of put that on around my neck just to cover the neck and hold the hair down when it's windy. So I thought that was super cool. And they had it in lots of different colors. I just, uncharacteristically for me, got it in a black and a white, but I think that'll be just fine. And it just has these great little nubs on it. So again, this is a free pattern on the Plymouth Yarn website, and it's called Beach Pebbles Dotted Swiss Cowl. And I just alluded for a moment about virtual knit nights. Did one again this morning with my Knitwit friends in Peoria on Zoom, and we did one the other night with the friends from Rochester on Zoom, and then on Thursday night we did another one. So if you have access to your people out there, Zoom is the way to go. Really was fun interacting with them, and we all were knitting. And the nice thing about it is you can get up when somebody else is talking and mute it and walk off and get a drink and come back or have a little something to eat. So that is how we here in Central Illinois and throughout the United States are keeping tabs on our other knitting friends. So thought that was super fun to do as well. Mail call is next. This particular one was a gift from my friend Brenda, and I'm looking at all of my patterns to try and decide what I want to knit out of it. She brought it back from her trip. I thought this is so super cool. Look at this color. Oh, and I'm thinking that I have some gift yarns, and I'm going to talk about my gift yarns in a couple of weeks, but I might be able to put some of these together and do some sort of fade. So that is so super cool. This is Purple Lamb. It's an indie dyer of from Purple Lamb Fiber Arts. She draws her inspiration from classics and the beauty of nature around me. And this is called Rhapsody in Blue on Sock Perfection in Musical Collection. And it's superwash merino and nylon. Super, super pleased about this. And this was such a surprise. And I thank you so much for thinking about me, Brenda. So that was one of the things. Next, I could not resist my, I don't know if you haven't heard of me talk about this, I'm talking about it again, but one of my favorite indie dyers is Briar Rose Fiber Arts in Michigan. It is Chris Ruzian, and she has a website, which I will link to. And Chris was so generous to our hospice group a couple of weeks ago, sent us 5 or 6 or 7 hanks of 4th of July that will make gorgeous blankets, donated it to our people there. And the ladies were super, super pleased about that. And it's a wonderful yarn. If you remember correctly, my weekender from a few weeks back that I knit was out of some 4th of July I had. And so when I saw that Chris had on her website kits for Andrea Mauer's night shift, I immediately had to go out and check them out. And so I received those. And so I'm hoping to cast on those soon. And here are some of the colorways that my night shift's going to be. Whoops, I can't get them all in the view to show. Sorry about that. But I will blog about them as well and show them on Instagram now that it's fairly light outside. So I'm looking forward to doing a night shift out of this yarn. And again, this is called 4th of July. And it is a scrumptious wool, merino wool, that Chris dyes. She is such a sweet and super nice lady and a lovely dyer of yarns. I've had several sweaters out of stuff from her. So that is so super, super cool. So that's something that came in the mail. I am super excited to maybe look at casting that on shortly as well. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about today mainly is to talk to you about spring sweater knitting. I am looking forward to my spring knitting, and I'm thinking we're almost too late to start. We need to be knitting on that right now. And so I started making a list of sweaters that I wanted to knit for spring. And then I went back to the Ravelry group and went back like last spring, summer. And I went back to some posts and I saw some photos and I was like, there was my bed projects lined up. And I'm like, I still need to do those. I still have those out there that I haven't knit. So some of my same ones for this spring and summer will be the same ones that were there a year ago. But I am anxious to knit with spring yarns. And so I start kind of making my thought process on spring and summer knitting is to what I like to get reference from a lot of times, and is the magazines that come in the mail, and I shouldn't say magazines, more of catalogs that come in the mail with spring stuff. And one I really like is Coldwater Creek. This is not their normal catalog. They usually come out with one in the spring and then one in the fall. And to me, they just seem to be a little bit more fashionable ones. And so I get some thoughts from them, and I look at not only, for me, I look at just the styles, the things that they're putting together that give me the fashionably challenged person that I am, gives me some ideas of what to wear together or how I want to put a look together from wearing a shirt underneath it or even just shoes. And so I have a binder that I make that I have spring and summer things going on right now as well. Or I see some things in here and I'm thinking this would be a great sweater to knit rather than to buy, because I'm a knitter and I have a great stash. So I start making little, as it would be, I cut these things out and put them into a binder, into plastic pages, and then so kind of think about using that as my jumping off point for sweaters that I want to knit, or colors too, colors that may be hot, or accessories, or just things that go with it. So that's kind of how I start and approach my spring knitting, along with looking and seeing what's out and about, and then making lists and going from there. So I wonder if there are others who are doing like that. One of the conversations today during our virtual knitting thing was that I do make lists, and I get great pleasure out of checking them off as well. I also have, and I'm going to share this with you more as spring evolves, as I decide on what I really want to be knitting on my spring summer sweaters. But I have my sweater project out, which is spring summer, and I've put into this folder some patterns and things that I want to maybe knit for spring and summer. One of them is calyx. This is one that we're the group from Rochester, from ZK, my table mates, are working on, and I have yarn for that. I would love to do that one for spring summer. I have something similar from last year, but it's out of a wool, and where I would want to make this one out of a springier yarn. Years ago, I bought 5 boxes of this at Stitches Midwest, and so I'd love to use that up as well. So that is one of the things that I'm thinking about. And then I have Tegna, and I'm thinking about this for summer out of some sea pearl, which is from Briar Rose. I've got plenty to do that. So I'm looking at that as options. I think this would be super cool out of maybe my yarn, one of my yarns that Brenda gave me, that I've had this for some time, this little t-shirt, and just use some of the finger weights that go together that I've got upstairs. Oh my gosh, there's just so many things in here, that so many possibilities to knit on. I have over the top tee. I have this slated with a yarn as well. It's just, there's so many possibilities here in my folder, and I'm hoping to share with you this spring and summer as knitting gears up. One of the things that I bought recently at my local yarn shop, she got a new book in, and this is slated for spring summer, and I've already cast on it. The designer is Jody Long, and she also does a yarn which is called the Coastline Collection, and I'll show you the picture. Originally, I went in and bought the yarn to do this one, only out of a corally, and then I thought, oh, that's going to be so boring, and so I ended up going back, and she did not have the yarns as pictured here. She bought other yarns, and so what I did is whatever yarn that she had bought, I decided that that was going to be my sweater, and so I am working on it, and I'm going to show you just where it's at right now. You can get an idea of the colors that I am using, and it's going to be super, super long. And I'm working on the fronts on it, and it was a super quick knit. I've been really concentrating on it, and so this is going to be maybe my first spring summer one done. A few ends to weave in because of all the stripes, but I really have been enjoying that. So that's my kind of spring summer knitting that I'm already starting and gearing up while we've got time. The thing that I love about this pattern, and she did the same thing that the Rainey Sisters did, and that also that Meg Swanson and Elizabeth Zimmerman does on their bottom up sweaters, where they have a rib. Easy was doing like casting on 10% more at the rib, and then at the first row after the rib, decreasing those 10%, and then on the pickpocket, the Rainey Sisters that I knit last year, they did it from, I want to say it was like 15 to 18%. And then also Jody here on her pattern does the same thing, and it was about 15%. and which is what happens is, first of all, you cast on 15% more stitches than you actually need for your gauge, and you use a smaller needle, and then you do the rib, knit the rib on the smaller and on those 15% more, 15 to 18% more stitches. And then in the first row after the rib, you decrease those 15% stitches and you go to your regular size needle, which would be one size up, and then continue knitting. And what happens with that is the rib hangs nicely and it doesn't cup under, as some of them want to do because of being a smaller needle and then staying up and then going up. So I really like that way, and I've been using that, incorporating that on all of my sweaters. So what happened when I started this particular sweater was I did not read the directions all the way, and I added more stitches than I thought I was going to need. And then I got to the point and they basically did the same thing. And I'm like, oops. So I had to rip it all back out and start over using the guidelines and using the instructions in the pattern. So anyway, it worked out, but I really like that that way of alleviating that cupping under of the rib, or cupping the hip or the buns or whatever. So I really am incorporating that into all of my patterns that I knit that don't already incorporate it. So that's just a kind of a little tip for you, and if you have those same issues. And so then the other little thing that I did on my pattern here is I took my little sticky notes and I took the colorways and I put in little sticky notes where the stripes were at, so I could just look at the cover of it and say, oh, I need to, this is Pebbles and I need to do 8 of them, or this is Sea Foam and I need to do 4 stripes, 4 rows, and Deep Ocean I need to do 12 and then 6, and that way I could just look at my pattern and go when I'm knitting it. So a little cheat sheet on the cover of my pattern. So anyway, just a little funny, a little something I'm doing to keep tabs on it. Okay, whips. Well, I have several whips that are needing attention. I blocked my Uzo, and I need to, I'm just going to say it. I need to sew it together, and then I can do the rib around the top and tack down some things. So I'm hopeful that this particular one, this is Uzo by Thea Coleman, will be done and ready to go pretty soon. I'm terrible because I do not like to sew things together. I am an in the round person. So this I'm going to have to sit down and make myself do that. And this is the back of Uzo. I'm loving this. So I'm ready to do it, but I just have to be in the right frame of mind. So that's one, and then the other one is called Shot Reverse Shot, and I am ready to put it together. This is from Shayna. And here's this one. And again, I am ready to put it together, the 2 pieces along with this centerpiece. And so, again, it's something that I have to spread out on my table and do. And this is, again, Shot Reverse Shot by Shayna Cohen. And I'm doing that as part of Knit Along for ZK. And I'll just kind of show you, it's in its little pieces here, but here's part of it, here's the other part, and these two have to be put together yet. And I'm going to put together, I believe, with the black. I'm just using 2 colors on this. And the yarn that I've used here on this is from Sun Valley Fibers. It's one of her yarns in Poolside and Onyx. So I just need, again, I have a couple of things that I just need to sit down and do. And hopefully this weekend I will get to doing that. So that's really all that I have to share with you today. I wanted to pop in and do a quick podcast. I will try in the next few days to do the show notes. I do them on the Ravelry PJ Knits group and also on my blog as well. Like I said earlier, I am working remotely from home for my work because I am where I am somewhat essential. I don't have to actually do it, be there at work to do it. So anyway, it's some difficult times out there for a lot of people right now, and I hope that you are all using your knitting as calming effect. And I highly recommend Zoom. It's a free app. You can do 40 minutes at a time, and getting together with a group of your friends or knitters or even family. I'm going to do it with my kids and my grandkids just to have a little fun with them as well. And so I totally think it's a great thing. Just keep in touch with those people out there. Whereas you have to know what's going on in the world, but I think for me, I have been so inundated with it and at work that sometimes we just need a little bit of calmness, and that's what knitting brings me, and reaching out to other knitters to see what they're knitting on as well. So again, thank you so much for coming, stopping by, and I hope that you will come back and we'll talk about more knitting as we go on. So until next time, favorite quote of mine, attributed Elizabeth Zimmerman, who really knew what was coming. Knit on with confidence and hope through all crises. Take care, everybody. Be healthy. Thanks. Bye-bye.